Yeah, so SPA is single page application. And these really came around the time frameworks started to get popular, like Angular, React, Vue. Because what it essentially is it's not multiple pages. We write our code to kind of simulate it, but in a SPA application, your entire front-end application is loaded in the browser when they visit your site. Then using something like React Router, which is the most popular one for React, you can simulate the effect of multiple pages. But really it's saying load this component versus this component. They're all sitting there in the browser waiting to be used. This is the mechanism that allows us to swap them in and out. Say show this one if they're on the home page, show this one if they're on the about page, and simulate this effect. This is very different than how websites were made in the past. You were either with a static site, like we've been building the business homepage. We have multiple index HTML pages, or there was server-side rendering, which is still very popular. Does anyone know what server-side rendering is? SSR. That is the process of when you make a request to a server, it doesn't send you JSON, it sends you a website. It sends you a website page. And your entire website's built on the back end. This idea of a front-end application doesn't exist. The server sends you everything. This is the exact opposite. The server would only send us JSON data. The entire application's loaded in the browser, and all it needs is that data to run. And that's how frameworks work. They use this kind of routing. So let me get to an idea. Okay, so here's a little GIF that's kind of simulating what React Router does. We can tell it what to say on page and what to leave page. Get some feedback here.
If we start creating websites like this, do we ever?
Depends. With Spot, if you're making a page in React, you got to use this. Like, if you want multiple pages, and if you want just one long page they scroll through, that's fine. You don't need this. But there's a big difference. So let's say you're just making like a really small portfolio site. React might be overkill. That's a huge amount of code for a little website without a lot of data or no data at all. So you might just make a portfolio site with an HTML page and CSS, really simple. If you're going to make something that's huge, needs to be able to grow, maintain a lot of data, a framework is where you're headed. And this is one of the ways we can route through a framework. So yeah, we can say header and footer, these components should always be on the DOM. They should never leave. But if they click the About page, the home page should leave, the About page should show up right in between. So this is what we'll be simulating. The little animation isn't built into it. You have to do that yourself. I'll show you how to do it later in the course. But we can transition between pages, and it's really nice. It's the effect that we expect when we see web applications now. How to use React Router? Welcome to the next npm install that you'll be using on every app that needs routing. The npm install command is react-router-dom. Don't install just React Router. You won't get everything you need. You'll have to uninstall it and then reinstall doing the full line. Well, let's start setting this up and see how it works. That's not the file I wanted. Here we are. React Router. And this will be the first time so far in the course, or since learning React, that we will actually add some code to our index.js page. Root group app.js. And I'm not going to use a class component for this for now. We're just going to keep it simple for a minute. Okay. Sorry, I just need to do this once. So what I'm building here is 3 different pages, the home and about and the contact. But we only want one to be on the page at a given time. Home. Now it's easy. We just say about. Sorry, I'm a little afraid to click anything right now. My mouse is doing that. I just can feel it coming now. I know when it's about to ruin things. There's our about page. And our contact. I make these obvious to see. All right, we are set up. You can start this. So I have an app.js, and it's going to try to load home, about, and contacts. So I'm going to import those. And display them here, finally. Now, if you had to visualize the web page, right now, let me import the style sheet. Can you guess what it would look like? I'm going to write the word home in here, word about. Yeah, you're seeing these stacked on top of each other, right? In your head. Let me get rid of margin. I just want this to look pretty. Okay, well, yeah, you're right. The website here, we've got home, we've got about, we've got contact. And this could be the simulation of a site. Maybe this is what you want. There's plenty of those sites, right, where you click on an nav bar and it scrolls you down to the section it should be on. If you're doing that, you may not need SPA. You may not need routing because it's all just one page. But this isn't going to be sufficient for larger websites. So we need routing. So even though we're going to be making smaller sites and it's a bit contrived, it's the only way to learn this tool set. So let's do that. I just really got to center that text or else it's gonna do stuff to my head. Display flex. Okay. Cool. So here that we have 4 parts we need to learn. We need a browser router. We need a switch, we need routes, and we need links. These are the 4 main pieces that React Router gives you to set up this SPA framework. Move stuff around, change the page dynamically. So the very first one is the browser router. This teaches your app how to be SPA. This is the thing that provides all the functionality of this package. So the browser router is actually something we need to go to the index.js and add here. We need to teach our app to use routing. So what we'll add to this index.js page is we'll import, but not by its direct word, we'll have to say brackets, browser router from React router DOM. That is the first piece. And this will be the first time you see a component that wraps around another component. If we wrap the browser router component around the app component, the app is then able to function with all the other components we need to use later, switch, route, and link. So I will break app down onto its own line, and I will put browser router around it. Something doesn't like button press. Just like that. So we wrap app, and app is now being provided a bunch of data from browser router. Have you ever seen an import with curly brackets like that? Yeah, well, we have it with a component. So like app.js, when we, oh yeah, for a component, yeah, exactly, for class components. Now, when you say export default, the component name, you can import it as its pure name, no strings attached. But if I didn't say default, if I just said export app, it's now not the default export. It is an export. It's not going to work in this context, but it's just a singular export. And if I were to do that, I couldn't just say import app. It's not the default. I have to say, look at the export object and give me app. So that is the difference why you see some imports with brackets, some without. It depends on whether the default export or just an export. You can only have one default export per file. You can have as many exports as you want, and they'll just be put in the same export object. So browser router is a part of the React Router DOM object, and we're destructuring it out as we import it. It's a non-default export. With browser router, we can now set up this multiple view. Can't resolve React Router DOM. Ooh, what does this error mean? You're like, we haven't used this package. I don't know. I think you can read between the lines, maybe. What is it telling me? I didn't install it, yeah. Module not found, you're using something that doesn't exist. So I will npm install React Router DOM. Then I'll npm start when it's done. Okay, that will figure itself out once it's done installing. But now we can move to the next file. Now app.js is typically the top level navigator. You know, this is the main page they land on. It branches off to everything else. So whatever you want to be dynamically viewed, meaning only show it if they're on that page, has to be wrapped in a switch statement. There are times where you may not need it, but most of the times you need a switch. So I will use switch here and wrap my 3 components with it. And this, I think, is still installing. Nope, it's ready. Cool. Not sure what that was. Stop. I press backspace once and that happens. Take that. Okay. But now it's not crashing for that other reason. But in order to use components from a package, like switch, like we did browser router, you have to import it in the file you're using it. So in this component, I'll need to import switch from React Router DOM. And now it knows what I'm talking about, and I'm trying to scroll right now. I can't. I cannot scroll. That means only home is being viewed. About and contact aren't available. I cannot get to them. So this is only part of it. By default, switch will load the first thing inside of its brackets. So the second component, or the second component we need to build this effect is the route. And instead of putting the components here directly, we're going to put a route component instead and make 3 of these. And the switch will load the appropriate route as it's requested. And it's all off of a specific prop we have to give this component called path. So actually, I'll give all 3 of these a path. And it's a string. So the path correlates exactly to the URL the user sees. So what is the home path? If you're on a website, like www.google.com, the home path is actually this right here. That is the home page of that site, / is the first place they can visit. Then they could go to the other pages of the site, like let's take me to the images section of the site, or your profile. These are all simplified, of course, but this path will specify what data should the user be seeing. That's what we give the route. We say, hey, on this path, load X or load Y, load a specific component. So for the home path, we'll just say /. This will be for the about page. We'll say it's for about. And this is for the contact page. We'll say it's for contact. So the path is the URL. And the user will see this in the URL up here when they're on that page. The second prop that each route needs is what should I load when they register that route? So you can use this keyword component and give it a component to load. My watch fell off. So home, about, and contact. What's different about this though? Like this is a component, it's showing up again, but how do I usually write a component? It's like with the carrots, we're passing this component as a prop to React Router. Is that even possible? Can you pass functions as props? You can pass components as props then, because components are functions. So if you can pass class methods like this.handleChange down to a form, you can pass entire components down to other components if you need to as props. They're functions. And so route is a component that takes a path and a component and says, when the path hits this, I'm loading this. And notice I'm on / now and it's loading home. Well, let's try to route to the other page. I'll say / about, but it still loads home. And it's with how the paths work. Everything starts with a / and Switch will find the first route that matches the path and load it. So even though it's / about, it saw the / first and couldn't load the about page. So for the home route, we have to say exact path. And now it registers and loads the about page. And I can change the word up here to / contact, go to the contact page, or I can delete that back to just / and go back to my home page. So that has built the routing for the 3 pages. What 3 components have we used so far? Switch, routes, and browser router. If you don't have this, well, I think you'll get the point. It won't work. You need that. You'll see a big error. It says like switch, it can't find browser router or something like that. It won't let you do this. Okay, but how many users are going to go into your URL and type in contact to see your contact page? No one, yeah. So we need this 4th component, link. And link is your A tag with React Router. This is how you link to a new page. So we're going to make a nav bar that does this. So let's go make a navbar.js, import React from React. And what component did I say is our A tag? The last thing I said. I know lots of stuff. But what component is our A tag with React Router? It's link. Think Zelda if you're a gamer. If not, just think link because it links you somewhere. Okay, link. So we're going to import link. Just like we did with switch and route and browser router from React Router DOM. And if we have 3 pages we want to go to, I'm going to have 3 different links. One that displays home, one that displays about, one that displays contact. If you are styling these, they're A tags. You can't style components. They're all elements under the hood. So if you want to style this, it's an A tag. Nope, it's already an A tag. Yeah. It looks like something else, but it is an A tag, but it works only with React Router.
So how would you style that?
I'd give this a class and I'd say grab all the A tags in there and style them, which will do in just a minute. But yeah.
So, I mean, can you also import, like, use some doing like early brackets link? Can you import like React Router DOM and just do like React Router DOM?
Yeah. You won't see that as often because he wants to write that whole word 100 times, but yes, you're on the right track. The link component needs one prop. It needs to know where to go. When they click this, where do you want to send us to? What page? Now the to needs to match the route you're sending them to. So what is our route for home? Slash. What is the route for about? Slash about. And for contact, slash contact. Okay. Keep these lowercase. Do not put spaces in them. Keep them lowercase. It's not often that you'll see uppercase letters in a URL, and it's usually because it's an ID, not an endpoint. So you want to keep these lowercase by convention, components uppercase by convention. All right, we're going to pull in navbar, which we did. Now, do we want the navbar to show on every page? So where would I put it inside of my app? Above the switch. Yeah, I'm saying never leave the page. You are always on the top, never leave. You're always there, regardless. And now I can go in between the pages, but the navbar is never leaving. The switch is just loading a different one of these three components. Kind of cool, I think. Kind of cool. Yeah, really cool. I'm going to change this div to a semantic tag because I'm trying to use good conventions. Change it to nav so we can come into here and say, hey, nav, you should be a full width of the page, and there'll be just a flex box with your links spaced evenly. So that gets them even, and then I can say nav, hey, all your A tags, right? I don't have to say nav link. It doesn't know what this is. If I say nav A tag, say text, decoration, none, font family, sans serif, and I think you get the point. All right, so A tags are link tags, and they'll let you navigate through your page. Okay, so that is the first part of React Router, how to set up a basic routing system. Takes a few parts. How many parts? Yes, 4. Browser Router teaches your app how to be a spa. Switch allows you to load a specific component. Route, define the component that should be loaded when a URL changes. And then links allows the user to change components view. They click on the link to /about. The switch is then triggered. It does a for loop through every route in your program. It finds the first path that matches it, and it loads that component. It's a really quick process. They click, where are we? They click this. The 2 sends a signal up to Browser Router. Browser Router finds its switch, does a loop. This isn't as important as knowing the parts, but this is kind of what's happening in the background. The switch is triggered, it loops over, it finds, hey, you requested contact, let's do that. Lastly, on this for routes, who has ever received a 404 page on a website? Do we know what 404 means? Not found? Cool. If you put this at the bottom of your routes, it's a catch-all. The star says if none of these were triggered, load this so your app doesn't break. And this can be a 404 component. It says 404 not found. One way to manage that. I'm gonna leave it out for now, but we'll put it back in later.
We can be, might as well do it now.